Beneath the noisy dust of modern life, the blinking notifications, the debates that never end, the praise and blame that flare up and vanish in a blink, there remains a quiet, steadfast path that leads a person back to themselves, the path of silence. Silence here is not meek endurance, not evasion of reality, and certainly not a disguise for weakness. Silence is a form of wisdom, knowing when to stop, allowing the mind to settle like the surface of a lake so that the inner world can come into clear view. When the mind grows still, we are no longer dragged about by hot-blooded reflexes, by the urge to prove ourselves or to win and lose. We see the roots of suffering and joy, and from there we act with calm and compassion instead of with defensive instinct. The power of silence begins with the capacity to listen. Most of the time, we listen in order to rebut, to reply, to defend our stance. Very rarely do we listen in order to understand. Silence opens space for that. When we do not push to interrupt, when we do not rush to paste a right/wrong label onto the person before us, the hushed stories finally have room to take shape. The anxiety behind irritability, the fear behind arrogance, the helplessness behind excessive acts. Listening in this way does not turn us into an empty barrel. On the contrary, it turns us into a clear mirror, receiving without retaining the sediment. And in that very moment, words, if needed, suddenly gain weight. They go straight to the core, not because we speak loudly, but because we have listened deeply. Silence is also the art of conserving mental energy. Every futile argument is another time we drain ourselves over things beyond our control. The ego keeps urging us to react instantly, like a flame flaring up when it meets the wind. Yet such a flame only burns our peace before it can warm anyone. To keep silent at the right moment is to shelter our inner strength. We choose battles worthy of our time and character. Often, a single slow breath is enough to shift the direction of an entire conversation. A brief pause lets us see. Retaliation does not make us lighter. Adding one more right usually only makes the heart heavier. Some ask, if you remain silent, are you not accepting injustice? No. Silence does not cancel action. It refines action. The silent person does not compromise with what is wrong. They simply choose the timing and manner of speaking so that harm is minimized and effectiveness is maximized. Inner steadiness keeps them from straying into hatred. Like someone carrying a lantern in the wind, they shield the flame from gusts of impulse so that the light can shine longer and farther. And when necessary, a small sentence, a clear decision, a lucid boundary, spoken from stillness, can be more powerful than 100 screams. Silence is also a mirror of cause and effect. When we do not rush to react, we can trace the path of a thought, the arising and fading of a feeling. We witness how anger arrives and departs, how sorrow swells and settles, without repression and without indulgence. That alert witnessing is the premise of freedom. We're no longer led by the nose, by our emotions. From that place of freedom, compassion has a chance to sprout. We see that we, too, have lost our way as others have. We see that everyone carries an invisible burden. Because we understand, we judge less. Because we judge less, we suffer less. In communities and leadership, silence is a discreet form of authority. A true leader does not need many words to impose their will. They cultivate a calm field of energy that inspires others to self-adjust. When debates grow heated, they become the still eye of the storm, listening, absorbing, and summarizing the essence of the matter in a few lucid sentences. People listen to them not because of title or position, but because intuition whispers. Behind that sparing speech lies depth of thought, wisdom distilled through experience, and a quiet respect for every voice. Such authority does not make others fearful. It makes them want to become better. On a personal level, silence is a simple yet powerful therapy. When love falls apart, we tend to rush to explain, to reason, to justify. The more we talk, the more entangled we become. The more we cling, the more it hurts. A season of silence, true solitude nourished by healthy habits, helps us stitch together the torn threads of our being. Sleeping enough, eating properly, moving the body, reading clear-minded pages, spending time in nature. In that slow rhythm, self-respect returns, and one sense of worth finds its rightful place. When we are whole again, we are no longer driven by fear of loss. We open our hearts because we wish to give, not because we fear emptiness. Silence is also an ethic for living among others. In the noisy bustle of social media, anyone can become a spokesperson for anything. Yet the clamor of information does not equal the richness of wisdom. To choose silence amid gossip, to refuse to pour fuel on the fire of ignorance, is to help purify the shared air. To choose silence in order to verify, to read further, to ask oneself, is what I'm about to say true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? That is to practice mindful speech. A community with many such people who preserve moments of quiet will be less reactive, less wounded, less divided. Keep silence from turning into a fog of indifference. We need two pillars: mindfulness and honesty. Mindfulness allows us to know why we are silent. Is it from fear, avoidance, or the wish to nurture wisdom? Honesty reminds us not to use silence as punishment or manipulation. Wholesome silence comes with presence, still listening, still caring, only refraining from turning care into hasty words. When the time is right, we share with warmth without blame. Then silence is no longer a wall. It becomes a cushion where love is not distorted by anger. In practice, silence can begin with the smallest gestures. Each day, grant yourself 5 minutes without a screen. Just breathe and feel your body. Before replying to an irritating message, count to 10 or postpone your response until your mind is settled. In meetings, aim to speak less but with more substance. Ask to understand, summarize to clarify, propose concretely to move forward. When someone confides in you, resist the impulse to give instant advice. Instead, mirror their feelings. I can hear that you're really. Such simple habits accumulate into inner strength. Another realm where silence wields its power is decision-making. Haste makes us oversimplify problems, placing blind faith in a convenient fact or ignoring the small voice of intuition. A deliberate pause, stepping out of the room, walking for a few minutes, gazing at trees, helps the mind shift from reaction to reflection. Some call it letting the problem speak. There is nothing mystical about it. When surface thoughts quiet down, the hidden structure beneath begins to appear. We decide not out of fear, nor to please anyone, but because we see more clearly the cost, the gain, and the meaning. Some say the world needs voices, actions, moral compasses. If everyone stayed silent, how could change happen? The answer is, the world needs voices that speak at the right time, in the right place, with the right essence. Silence does not kill speech, it ripens it. As fruit needs sun and wind, words need reflection and compassion. When speech arises from that foundation, it does not deepen fractures. It points out errors without humiliation. It invites rather than coerces. That is the kind of speech that creates lasting transformation. Ultimately, silence is a quiet promise we make to ourselves that no matter how turbulent the outside world becomes, we will preserve a sanctuary within that cannot be occupied. That inner space is like a green hill within the city, a place where we can breathe deeply, see farther, and move gently. Whenever we feel the urge to react, we climb that hill. Whenever we long to win an argument, we sit down on its grass. We will not always succeed. There will be days when we still slip, still speak in haste. But as long as we remember the way back, silence will welcome us like an old friend. No reproach, only an open door. To learn silence is to learn a noble art of living. It is neither glamorous nor loud, not something easily displayed on social media. But it endures, it heals, and it is real. It teaches us to listen before speaking, to understand before judging, to sow kindness before hoping for reward. It gives us eyes that see through the dust of words, hands that do not tremble under criticism, and feet that do not falter when life tilts. And then, One day, amid the carnival of noise, we realize we no longer need to shout to be heard, nor argue to be acknowledged. The quiet presence itself has become a light, subtle yet steadfast, bright enough to illuminate our own path and warm those who pass nearby. When the heart is at peace, life is at peace. That is the simple yet profound essence of the power called silence. Amid today's clamor, where everyone rushes to speak, to perform, to claim what is right, perhaps the rarest and most precious thing left is a moment of silence. We live in an age where anyone can raise their voice, where every opinion and emotion has a platform. Yet the more voices echo, the easier it becomes to lose touch with the one true voice within. There is a strange paradox. As the world grows noisier than ever, silence has become a luxury, a refined art belonging to the strong and the wise. Silence is not the absence of speech, but the knowing of when to speak and when to stop. It is the instant we listen to ourselves, distinguishing between the echo of ego and the whisper of wisdom. People often think that the silent are weak, that they lose in conversation. But in truth, only those who truly understand themselves dare to choose silence. They know that some things need no explanation, that some words, the more spoken, the murkier the heart becomes. Just as the more we stir a lake, the less it can reflect the moon. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled along the mountainside, there lived a carpenter named Tien Tom. He was well known for his skillful hands and for the exquisite wooden pieces he crafted, each one so fine and precise that people could hardly believe they were handmade. Yet few knew that after finishing every creation, he would quietly sit beneath an old Bodhi tree, simply watching the leaves fall, listening to the wind, and breathing slowly. When people asked why he neither rejoiced at praise nor grew upset at criticism, he would smile gently and say, "Before I begin my work, I sit down with myself." Once the heart is at peace, praise or blame no longer matters. Every table, every chair he made carried within it a piece of that serenity. Villagers would often say that anyone who sat in one of his chairs felt their heart grow lighter. That simple story holds a profound lesson. When a person learns to be still before acting, everything they do gains a soul. In that stillness, one sees the true nature of things, unmoved by noise, rivalry, or the craving for recognition. Silence before action is not hesitation. It is the harmony between mind and deed, allowing one's work to hold not only form, but spirit. That I once met a teacher like that. He was over 70, his hair white as mist, and his eyes as gentle as autumn water. In class, he never scolded or raised his voice. He would simply look at his students, smile, and softly ask, "What do you think about that?" And just like that, the once restless children would fall silent, deep in thought. One day, someone asked him why he never spoke louder, so his students would obey. Pouring more tea, he smiled and said, "The hotter the water, the quicker it evaporates. The louder the voice, the easier the heart is to lose its calm." That sentence has stayed with me for years, because it is true. The noisier a person, the easier it is for them to lose composure. Only those whose hearts are steady need not raise their voices to be heard. There are people whose silence commands respect. They do not argue. They do not strive to prove themselves. Yet their very presence brings peace to the room. In a meeting where many argue for hours, when such a person finally speaks, a few concise sentences are enough to awaken everyone. The power of speech lies not in volume, but in the stillness of the heart from which it arises. Words born of a calm mind are clear. Words born of a restless mind are clouded. Those who know silence are often the ones who understand most deeply. They have learned that most debates in life exist only to protect the ego, and the larger the ego, the narrower the heart becomes. The more we speak, the more we become entangled in our own words. In contrast, those who can stop speaking are those who can open their hearts. They listen not only with their ears, but also with their eyes and their hearts. They do not rush to label right or wrong, for they know that everyone speaks from their own pain or belief. The Buddha was once asked, "Are you the greatest orator in the world?" He only smiled. For eloquence saves no one. Only stillness allows people to truly look within. On one occasion, when someone insulted him harshly, he remained as calm as a rock in the wind. When his disciple questioned this, he simply asked, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The answer is simple yet profound. Insults, if we do not accept them, remain with those who deliver them. Such silence is not submission, it is wisdom. When we understand that every word spoken arises from another's karma and state of mind, we no longer let it invade our own. The ancients used to say, "Words cost nothing, so choose them kindly." But perhaps in today's world, another line should be added. Sometimes not speaking is also a way to love. There are times when silence is the greatest form of respect. We stay silent to let others finish speaking. We stay silent to avoid causing harm. We stay silent to give anger time to dissolve. And in that very pause, compassion is born, that a Zen master once said. If your words cannot be as beautiful as flowers, then be silent like a stone. Flowers carry fragrance, stones carry strength. One who can embody both, soft and firm, gentle and steady, has found true balance within. Silence does not make a person disappear. It allows them to shine in the quietest way, like the moon lighting up the night. Not loud, not showy, yet seen by all. Perhaps amid the rush of traffic, the hum of machines, and the tangle of voices, we have forgotten that just a single minute of sitting still, eyes closed, breathing slowly, can change the entire world. In that silence, we hear the wind, the rustling leaves, the beating of our own hearts, and we realize that what matters is not victory over others, but peace within ourselves. Then, silence is no longer an effort. It becomes a natural rhythm, like breathing, like the beating of the heart, like the quiet smile of one who has come to understand that true strength does not lie in great words, but in the deep stillness of the soul. That if silence is the expression of wisdom, then gentleness is the form of compassion. The two are like the wings of a single bird. One allows it to soar high, the other keeps it flying in the right direction. Some think that to be gentle is to be weak, to be easily bullied, to lose in a world full of schemes. But they do not realize that to remain kind and steadfast requires a courage far greater than hardness. Gentleness is not letting life push you around. It is facing every storm with a heart free from hatred. In a riverside village, there lived an old woman named Man. All her life, she was gentle, diligent, and full of love for others. She once ran a small morning sticky rice stall. Each day, she rose at 3 in the morning, lighting the stove, steaming the rice, and wrapping each serving with trembling hands. Those too poor to pay, she fed for free. Those who owed her money, she smiled and said, "Eat first, pay me tomorrow." But life is not always kind to the kind. A relative, driven by greed, secretly seized the deed to her house and threw her out when she was already old. When neighbors asked why she didn't sue, she only shook her head. "If we take each other to court, home turns into a battlefield. I lost a roof, but I kept my peace." Years later, that same person's business failed and illness left him alone. One rainy afternoon, Old Man came to visit him, bringing a pot of hot porridge. He broke down in tears and asked, "Why don't you hate me?" She replied softly, "I did once, but then I realized anger doesn't keep you warm. Only kindness does." That simple answer left everyone speechless. Without grand teachings, the gentle old woman had taught the whole village the true strength of forgiveness. Gentleness does not mean indulgence. The gentle know their boundaries, but they choose to remain soft even when hurt. They can speak up, but never in anger. They can act, but always within the bounds of righteousness. That is why the gentle are never weak. They are those who have seen through the nature of anger, understanding that it only burns oneself. That a Zen master once said, "When you understand that the one who hurt you is also suffering, you no longer wish to retaliate." Gentleness begins from that understanding, that all harmful acts arise from ignorance. To feel compassion for another's ignorance is already to be close to wisdom. The gentle no longer see themselves as victims, but as students of karma. When deceived, they learn discernment. When wounded, they learn to love more deeply. The Buddha taught, in this world, hatred is never overcome by hatred. Only love can overcome hatred. This is an eternal law. The gentle live by that law. They plant seeds of goodness in every small act, not for reward, but because they believe each act of kindness is a seed of peace. A soft word, a helping gesture, a moment of patience, all are seeds sown in the soil of virtue. And sooner or later, good flowers bloom. That I once knew a young woman named and gentle and quiet by nature. At work, her colleagues often took advantage of her, leaving her to carry their share of the burden. Many urged her to speak up, to stand her ground so others wouldn't look down on her. She only smiled and said, "If I can do it without resentment, let it be a lesson for them in gratitude." Years later, she became a department head, while those who had exploited her drifted away one by one. When asked why she bore no grudge, she said, "Because if I hate them, I become like them." Her simple answer captured the essence of what it means to be truly kind. The gentle do not take joy in others' pain, nor pride in their own success. They live like water, soft, humble, yet infinitely strong. Water never fights the rock, yet it is water that wears the rock away. Because water knows how to move slowly, how to be patient, how to embrace rather than resist. So too do the gentle. They trust in time, in the law of cause and effect, and in the truth that all evil will wither on its own, like a flower deprived of light. Gentleness does not mean being without sadness or pain. There are nights when gentle souls also cry, when they too feel lonely. But instead of cursing their fate, they choose to pray. Instead of revenge, they choose forgiveness. They understand that forgiveness is not for others to find peace. It is for themselves to be light. When the heart no longer bears the weight of resentment, the steps become lighter and sleep becomes serene. Today, in a society driven by calculation and gain, the gentle are sometimes seen as outdated. Yet perhaps it is they who keep the world from collapsing. For if everyone knew how to live kindly, how to yield a little, to speak softly, to give without counting, where could hatred survive? Gentleness, though it seems as small as an oil lamp, can still illuminate the dark room of the human heart. And then we realize, within every person lies a sleeping seed of kindness, waiting to be awakened by a smile, a sincere act of goodness, a moment of true empathy. When that gentleness is nourished, one not only lives kindly with others, but also kindly with oneself. For when the heart softens, life itself becomes gentler. The gentle leave no inheritance of wealth or fame, but they leave behind a quiet energy of peace. They're the kind of people who make you want to be better simply by their presence. They need not preach or teach. Just by watching them live, you understand what goodness truly means. In every human life, there will come unexpected storms. Storms of loss, betrayal, illness, or sometimes just a small event powerful enough to shake one's balance. It is in those moments that we see the truth. Amid the tempest, real strength does not lie in muscle, in loud words, or in fierce struggle. It lies in calmness. Calmness is the ability to stand still amidst raging waves without being swept away, to keep one's inner light shining through the rain. The story of Quan, a young carpenter, illustrates this perfectly. Quan once had everything: a small workshop, gifted hands, and a loving wife. But disaster struck when his closest friend deceived him, taking all his savings and disappearing. His workshop was seized, and his wife, exhausted and heartbroken, left him. Quan was left with nothing. In the beginning, he was consumed by anger, even vowing to find and confront the man who had betrayed him. But one night, sitting alone before his empty house, he remembered his father's words. When you raise your hand to strike someone, remember that the wind will blow back into your own face. That simple truth made him let go. He decided not to seek revenge, but to start over, With nothing but his two bare hands, in the years that followed, Quan returned to his craft. But this time, he worked not just to make a living, but to heal himself. Each time he sawed through a piece of wood, he felt as though he were cutting away a piece of anger. Each time he sanded a surface smooth, he felt as though he were polishing away the rough edges of his own heart. Slowly, the wood became smoother, and so did his soul. People asked, "How can you be so calm after all that happened?" Quan only smiled and said, "Because I know every wave eventually fades. If I don't learn to be still, I will drown." Calmness is not the absence of pain. It is the refusal to let pain control you. It lives in that sacred space between reaction and response, the space where choice resides. Calm people are not emotionless. They simply understand that emotions, like clouds, will pass. Anger, fear, anxiety, envy, they're only small waves. If we don't cling to them, they dissolve. But if we resist or fight them, we only make the waves larger. The Buddha once told a story called the unaccepted gift. A man once insulted him in front of a crowd, hurling every cruel word he could. When the man finally stopped, the Buddha asked calmly, "If someone offers you a gift but you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man replied, "To the one who offered it." The Buddha smiled and said, "Just so. I did not accept your insults, and thus they remain with you." That calmness is the highest form of freedom. It shows that a calm person cannot be controlled by others. They can hear praise without pride, hear criticism without anger. They do not react out of instinct but respond with awareness. For they understand that those who hurt us are often the ones who suffer most. When that truth is seen, the heart naturally softens, and calmness itself becomes a form of compassion. In today's world, calmness is a rare skill. People live fast, speak fast, react fast, but few pause long enough to truly listen to what is happening inside them. A harsh word can destroy a relationship. A hasty decision can bring a lifetime of regret. Yet with just one deep breath, one brief pause, we can avoid countless wounds. A good leader is not the one who shouts the loudest, but the one who stays calmest in crisis. When others panic, they see the path ahead. When others blame, they listen. When they speak, it is brief and clear. Because calmness lets them see the problem, not just the emotion around it. Like a sailor steering through waves. If he panics, the boat capsizes. If he stays steady, it passes through. Calmness, too, is a practice. It does not come from theory, but from learning to stop. Each time we are misunderstood and do not react immediately, we are training calmness. Each time we feel anger but choose silence, we are nurturing peace. Each time we fail but do not destroy ourselves, we are rebuilding inner strength. Calmness is born from knowing one's smallness in life without feeling weak, knowing life's impermanence without despairing. I remember one morning after a heavy rain, a young monk went out to sweep the temple courtyard. The leaves were wet, the path slippery, the wind still blowing. Someone asked, "How can you sweep in weather like this?" The monk smiled and said, "It doesn't need to be clean. Only my mind must not swirl with the wind." That simple answer captures the essence of calmness. You don't have to stop the wind, only hold the broom. We cannot control the world, but we can control our attitude. A calm person knows that every storm has an end, and every pain carries a lesson. When we stop resisting and instead face it directly, the storm slowly dissolves. Calmness does not spare us from suffering, but it helps us pass through suffering with awareness, with no bitterness, no hatred, no loss of faith. Ultimately, calmness is the bridge between wisdom and compassion. Wisdom without calmness easily turns cold. Kindness without calmness easily turns weak. Only when calm can we both understand and love. Amid storms, the calm person does not ask, "Why me?" but "What can I learn from this?" And when the waves subside, they smile, wipe the water from their face, and walk on, lightly, steadily, as if no storm had ever passed. If silence is the surface of a lake, and calmness the current flowing beneath, then stillness is its depth, the place without ripples, where truth is seen most clearly. A person only truly understands themselves when the mind is still. When the heart is noisy, every insight is but a distorted reflection of truth. The world today glorifies speed, faster, bigger, stronger. People fear stillness, fear silence, fear empty spaces. Yet it is precisely within those spaces that wisdom is born. A tree grows only because its roots rest in quiet soil. A person matures only when their heart learns to stop. Stillness is not withdrawal from life. It is living within the world without being swept away by it. Years ago, on a small street in a noisy city, there was an old cyclo driver named Hoa. He quietly carried passengers each day, always smiling. People called him Smiling Hoa because whether in heat or rain, with impatient or kind passengers, he always smiled. Few knew that in his youth he had once had everything: a house, a wife, children, and a steady job. A sudden accident took it all away. Instead of drowning in resentment, he chose to live on, quietly, simply, like a river flowing past stones. Someone once asked him, "Aren't you sad? Don't you feel angry?" He looked into the distance and replied, "Sad or angry, the world stays the same. Only I would suffer more." That simple answer carried the wisdom of a lifetime. Stillness is not the absence of pain, but the ability to stand beside your pain and smile at it. When the heart is deep enough, all waves become small. It's like the story of the old Zen master in a mountain temple. Every morning, while mist still covered the path, he would sweep the courtyard. One day, a visitor asked, "Master, the courtyard is already clean. Why do you keep sweeping?" The master smiled and said, "The courtyard is clean, but the mind is not. Sweeping the yard is sweeping the dust from my heart." People thought it was a metaphor, but in truth, it was the essence itself. Stillness is not sitting motionless in meditation. It is sweeping the dust from one's mind each day, the dust of greed, anger, ignorance, jealousy, and worry. As those layers fall away, the heart becomes clear and compassion naturally arises. We no longer need to try to love, because understanding itself is the root of love. Those who do not understand love only with emotion, easily changed. Those who understand love with wisdom, steady and deep, the truly still always have serene eyes. They can see others' mistakes without judging, witness others' pain without rushing to fix it through restless action. They heal through their calm presence. Like when we sit beside someone who is crying, no words are needed, only the comfort of silent companionship. That is the compassion of stillness, quiet, unassuming, yet possessing the greatest power to heal. In a Dharma talk, a young monk once asked his teacher, "Master, how can I love others without being hurt?" The teacher replied, "Love with a still heart. When you love and your heart still trembles, that is attachment. When you love and your heart is calm, that is compassion." That answer encapsulates the spirit of stillness. When the heart still clings, seeks, or demands to be acknowledged, that love still contains suffering. Only when we release, when we no longer need others to align with our desires, does love become truly free. And to release, there's only one way: to grow quiet. People often believe that understanding comes from reading a lot, learning a lot, and talking a lot. But true understanding comes from seeing deeply. And to see deeply is not to look with the eyes, but with a still heart. In an argument, people rarely understand each other because everyone only wants to speak. But when one side chooses to stop, to listen without judgment, something miraculous happens. Understanding is born and anger dissolves. Stillness is the foundation of all wisdom. In every religion, every tradition of philosophy, people are taught the art of quieting the mind through meditation, through prayer, through mindful breathing. For only when the mind is calm can we hear the voice of conscience. When a mind is chaotic, every decision goes astray, every word becomes a wound. Stillness is like the root of a tree. The deeper the root, the stronger the tree. A human life is the same. Only when rooted in stillness can one withstand the storms of the world. Today, social media is full of noise. Everyone wants to prove something. Everyone wants to be right. But the most frightening noise is not outside. It is inside. Many people turn off their phones, leave the city, yet their minds remain restless. Because stillness does not come from the place you go. It comes from the way you face yourself, that a monk once said. When you are truly still, even the song of a bird becomes a Dharma talk. That means that when the heart no longer resists, every sound becomes a lesson. The sound of rain teaches us about letting go. The wind teaches us about impermanence. Silence itself teaches us about being. Those who live in stillness can find lessons in every breath, every step, every drop of morning dew. Stillness does not make us indifferent. It makes us love life more deeply. Because only when the heart stops trembling can we truly see the beauty of a flower, a child's smile, or the golden light of sunset on old rooftops. When the heart is still, everything becomes more alive because we have stopped looking at the world through the lenses of fear and judgment. Stillness is the path of the wise, the breath of the gentle, the home of the calm. It is where we return whenever we are weary. Amid the fiercest winds, the one who keeps stillness holds an invisible power, a power that does not shake the earth, yet is strong enough to keep the entire universe peaceful within their heart. There's a strange truth about life. The more people chase happiness outside themselves, the farther they drift from who they really are. We run after work, fame, money, relationships, as if possessing them will bring peace. But one day, when all that we cling to suddenly slips away, we realize that peace was never out there. It has always been within us, in the kind heart, in the quiet pause, in the calm that endures through change. And the path back home is not far. It begins the moment we stop running. From childhood, people are taught to be strong in order to survive. But few are taught that gentleness, too, is a form of strength. The gentle are not ruled by hatred, nor blinded by greed. They can walk through life without swords or shields, armed only with a smile and an open heart. They defeat others not with arguments, but with compassion. They make others lower their voices, not out of fear, but out of respect and warmth. In every gentle person shines a subtle light, a soothing energy that makes others feel safe. Wherever there is gentleness, there is peace. Silence is the next step on the journey home. Only in silence can we hear our own heart. At first, that voice is faint, like raindrops falling on leaves, easily drowned by the noise of life. But if we truly listen, it grows clearer, guiding us through our most difficult turns. Many people fail not because they lack ability, but because they never pause to listen to themselves. They live according to the voice of the crowd, the ego, or fear. But those who know how to be silent, who know how to be still, can hear the truest call within. Who am I? What am I living for? A Zen master once said, "Life never lacks the voice of truth. It is only that humans talk too much to hear it." Indeed, when we are silent, everything becomes illuminated. An anger observed deeply dissolves like smoke. A sorrow examined gently transforms into understanding. A person who once hurt us, when seen through a still heart, appears as someone who is also suffering, also lost. And in that moment of seeing, the heart softens naturally. That is when compassion is born, not from emotion, but from wisdom and calmness. It is the candle that lights our way through the long night of life. Life never promises peace. There will always be winds that throw us off balance, words that wound, losses that drain us. But if we can stay calm, everything changes. Calmness keeps us from making decisions in anger, from saying words we'll regret in sorrow, from collapsing before we reach the end of the road. The calm person moves through life like a boatman steering down a river. The water may rush, but his hands remain steady. He knows when to stop, when to let go, and when to hold on. When gentleness, silence, and calmness come together, a person enters a state called resting within oneself. It is not separation from the world, is deeper connection. Such a person no longer needs to prove, to compete, to crave praise, or fear criticism. They live lightly like breath itself, simple yet complete. Their joy does not come from gaining more, but from letting go of fear, of worry, of resentment. And when those things fall away, the heart opens wide, as clear as the sky after rain. Point one evening at sunset, the old cyclo driver we once mentioned sat watching people pass by. A young man stopped and asked, "Don't you find life tiring?" The old man smiled. "Life is full of wind, but we don't have to fight every gust. It's enough to shield the flame in our hearts." That answer contained the essence of a lifetime. Be gentle so you don't hate. Be silent so you don't lose yourself. Be calm so you don't fall. When we understand this, we see that every pain is a lesson guiding us home. We are hurt to learn empathy. We are betrayed to learn not to place our happiness in others. We lose to discover what truly matters. And after journeying far enough, we realize the most precious thing in life is not to have everything, but to keep a kind soul, a loving heart, and a mind that knows when to stop. There is no path to peace other than the path back to oneself. Everything we seek, love, happiness, success, already lives within. We simply fail to see it because we're too noisy, too hurried. Once we stop, gentle toward others, silent toward the world, and calm toward ourselves, we will hear a deep voice whisper, "You are home." Then, life is no longer a race to escape or to fight. Each morning, we wake with gratitude. Each night, we sleep in peace. Amid chaos, we can still smile. Not because everything is perfect, but because we're at peace with who we are. That is the greatest gift gentleness, silence, and calmness bring. Not loud, not dazzling, but steady as roots, light as clouds, deep as the ocean. Whoever understands these three has already found the way home. The path of wisdom, compassion, and true happiness. Sometimes life gives no warning. Everything seems normal until a sudden storm sweeps through, tearing away all that once felt certain. Only then do we understand what it means to face the storm within. It is not merely loss, failure, or betrayal. It is the feeling of being unanchored, swept away, without ground to stand on. Yet even in such storms, there are those who can remain still. They do not scream or resist. They simply take a slow, deep breath and begin again. Those are the ones who have learned the art of staying steady in the storm. Quan was one such person. A skilled carpenter, he was known for his craftsmanship and honesty. He had a small workshop, a trusted friend as his business partner, and a loving family. His life was modest but full of hope. Then one morning it all collapsed. His closest friend, the one he trusted most, took all their capital and disappeared. The workshop was seized, the house repossessed. His wife, unable to bear the hardship, quietly left. In the days that followed, Quan drifted like a man without a soul. Waves of anger, pain, and humiliation crashed within him. He would sit for hours staring at the sign of his old workshop, hearing only one question in his head: why me? He thought about revenge, about finding the traitor to settle things once and for all. But one cold night, sitting alone by the river, he remembered what his father once told him. "My son, the more the water stirs, the murkier it becomes. Only when it grows still can it reflect the moon." That simple sentence became a lantern in the dark. He sat quietly, watching the turbulent current, and realized no amount of anger could change what was lost. He could smash, scream, destroy, but afterward, everything would be the same, except his heart, more exhausted than before. So he sighed and, for the first time in months, took a deep breath. The next day, he began again, not with grand plans, but with one small act: repairing an old chair. His hands trembled, but with each saw stroke, each chisel mark, he breathed. He no longer worked for speed or gain, but with calm intention. Gradually, he saw that what had truly drained him before was not the work. It was his restless mind. When the heart is calm, even labor feels light. When the mind is still, even would become softer. Someone once asked him, "Aren't you angry at that man?" He smiled and said, "Of course I am. But anger doesn't make me happier. I choose calmness to protect the human part of me that's left." Calmness is not the absence of emotion. It is the strength to stand still and let emotion pass. Like someone watching waves. If you jump in, you'll be swept away. If you stand firm, the waves fade on their own. Some say calmness is a luxury. But in truth, it is the only thing we can control in a changing world. We cannot stop the rain, but we can keep the flame in our hearts from going out. The calm know that life is impermanent. What is here today may be gone tomorrow. The more we cling, the more we suffer. The more we resent, the deeper our pain. Calmness means accepting that everything has its season, that every storm ends, and the sun will rise again after rain. When we stop struggling, we realize the storm was never as terrifying as we thought. In Eastern philosophy, there is a saying, "When the heart is peaceful, the world is peaceful." The world outside will never truly be still, but when our hearts are, everything feels lighter. When we are angry, every word becomes a thorn. When we are afraid, every glance feels like a threat. But when we are calm, what once made us suffer suddenly seems small. The situation may be the same, but our way of seeing changes everything. That was how Quan came back to life. He sought no revenge, uttered no complaints. He simply worked quietly, lived simply, devoted himself to small things, brewing tea, planting a few pots of flowers, repairing his old house. People thought he had forgotten, but in truth, he had simply let go. For him, keeping peace in his heart was worth more than 100 battles of right and wrong. One afternoon, as the sun turned gold, he sat watching the shimmering river. He whispered, "So it turns out, storms exist only to teach us how to steer." Indeed, everyone must face their own storms. Some panic, some shout, and some simply sit still. Amid the chaos, they breathe slower, see deeper, and smile, because they know no storm lasts forever. It is the mind that creates the wind. When the mind rests, the sky clears. Perhaps the hardest victory in life is not over others, but over one's own emotions. We often think ourselves strong, yet a single word, a glance, a small misunderstanding can stir up an ocean within. Emotions are like fire. They warm us when tended, but consume us when left unchecked. Calmness, then, is the art of keeping the fire in your heart from turning into ash. The Buddha once told a simple yet profound story. A man came and insulted him harshly before a crowd. When the man grew tired, the Buddha gently asked, "If someone offers you a gift, but you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man hesitated and replied, "To the one who offered it." The Buddha smiled. "In the same way, I do not accept your insults, and therefore they remain with you." The crowd fell silent. And no argument could cut deeper than that calmness. It wasn't that the Buddha never felt anger. He simply saw the true root of insult. It speaks not of the one being insulted, but of the suffering in the one who insults. Once that truth is seen, anger dissolves, leaving only compassion. In modern life, we are easily swept into the game of emotions. One malicious comment, one careless message, one misunderstood word, and instantly we react. We type back, defend ourselves, argue, justify as if we must win. But in truth, the moment we react, we lose. Because we've allowed someone else's emotions to control our own mind. If the one who hurt us was wrong, time will reveal it. But if we lose our calmness, we are the ones who end up wounded. Emotions in themselves are not bad. They are part of being human. But when emotions lead, reason fades. When we're angry, we see only others' faults. When we're jealous, we see only our own lack. When we worry, we see only what hasn't come. Calmness does not mean being emotionless. It means standing beside your emotions and watching them instead of drowning in them. There was a young woman named Vi who worked in media. One day, a coworker falsely blamed her for a failed project. Furious, she drafted an email to her boss, ready to set things straight. But before sending it, she remembered her teacher's advice. If you write in anger, wait one night. So she set it aside. The next morning, rereading her email, she realized she had been mistaken too. She hadn't verified all the details. She deleted the message and chose to meet her colleague in person for a calm conversation. The issue was resolved peacefully, no one hurt. Later she said, "Turns out, by being calm for just one night, I avoided an entire storm." A calm person knows that every emotion has a lifespan. Anger, at its longest, lasts a few hours. Sadness, even at its deepest, only a few days. Yet what we do in a single moment of lost calm can haunt us for years. That's why calm people choose to pause, to look, to understand, to let the heart settle. In that pause, wisdom enters. Emotion is the wave, wisdom is the boat. The waves never stop, but the boat can learn to pass through. A hot-tempered person reacts to the wave. A calm person steers the boat. They still sail the vast ocean of life, but they no longer fear storms, for they know a storm is only dangerous when we lose the helm. I once saw a father teach his son a lesson about emotions. The boy had broken a precious vase and, terrified, began to cry. The father came over, not scolding, but gently said, "See, the vase is broken, but you are not. Angry or not, the vase won't mend. The only difference is, if you stay angry, your heart will break too." The boy looked up, stopped crying, and remembered that lesson for life. Calmness is the ability to see the whole picture while others see only a fragment. When emotions no longer lead, we're no longer pushed by fear or fury. We see with wider eyes. We realize that those who hurt us are themselves in pain. We see that what we lose today may spare us from greater sorrow tomorrow. And we understand that sometimes the wisest thing to do is nothing at all. That is why, in every wisdom tradition, calmness is seen as the mark of true understanding. The impatient speak from the mouth. The wise speak from a heart that has stilled. Amid chaos, the calm do not strive to shine, yet they naturally radiate, like a small lamp unmoved by the wind. They do not need to prove they are right, because they know, when the heart is at peace, what is right reveals itself. Calmness, after all, is not a gift given by others. It is the fruit of daily practice. Each time we choose silence over argument, a smile over anger, forgiveness over resentment, we become stronger than before. And one day, we suddenly realize emotions have not vanished. We've simply learned to guide them. Like holding the string of a kite in strong wind, we let it soar high, but never lose control. Today's world glorifies speed. People race to meet deadlines, to achieve targets, to outdo one another. The faster, the better, or so it seems. But the faster we go, the more tangled our hearts become. We eat fast, speak fast, love fast, hate fast, and so we suffer fast. Yet within this rush, there's a strength that seems soft but endures beyond all others. The power of slowing down. Slowing down is not laziness or hesitation. It is knowing when to pause, to see clearly what we are doing, thinking, and where we are heading. Like a driver on a foggy road. The faster he drives, the likelier he crashes. Only by slowing down can he see the turns and the real path ahead. Life is the same. When we chase our emotions, we see only the immediate. When we slow down, we see farther. There was an old Zen master who swept the temple courtyard every morning. Rain or shine, he moved the broom slowly, rhythmically. One day, someone asked, "Master, the wind keeps blowing. How can you ever finish sweeping the leaves?" The master smiled gently. "It doesn't matter if the leaves don't end. What matters is that my heart doesn't blow with the wind." That answer left the listener silent. It turned out that sweeping the courtyard wasn't just about clearing leaves. It was about clearing the dust within. The yard might get dirty again, but each sweep was a training of the heart. Life, too, will never be perfectly calm. Yet if we learn to pause, to breathe, to observe, we'll see that no wind can harm a heart that stands steady. Modern people lose their calm not because they are weak, but because they were never taught how to slow down. Since childhood, we've been told to be quick, quick to answer, quick to finish, quick to decide. But no one ever said that being quick and wrong takes far longer to fix. A hasty decision can cost years. A careless word can destroy a relationship. Often, one slow breath, one quiet minute, is enough to save us from a great mistake. The human body holds its own wisdom. When we breathe slowly, the heart slows. When the heart slows, the brain receives more oxygen and clarity returns. That's why, in meditation and in medicine alike, breathing is the foundation of calm. A deep breath is the bridge between body and mind, between chaos and peace. Just pause, inhale deeply, exhale slowly, and you've already begun the journey home. Once I saw a young mother in a supermarket. Her 4-year-old daughter spilled milk and burst into tears. Instead of scolding, the mother knelt down, held her gently, and whispered, "It's okay. Let's clean it together." Everyone nearby smiled. She may have lost a few minutes cleaning up the mess, but she kept her calm and protected her child's tender heart. Sometimes a single moment of patience can save an entire childhood. Calm people are never afraid to go slowly because they understand that slowing down is the right direction. They don't rush to react, to decide before they know, or to judge before they understand. At work, they observe before acting. In love, they listen before speaking. In life, they pause to breathe instead of diving into meaningless races. Many today think calmness is innate, but in truth, it's cultivated through learning to slow down. Each morning, instead of grabbing your phone right away, sit quietly for 3 minutes and listen to your heartbeat. When someone says something unpleasant, count to 10 before replying. When you feel the urge to rush, take one slower step and ask yourself why you're hurrying. These small habits, built over time, form inner strength that a leader I once met had a remarkable habit. During tense meetings, he always stayed silent for 30 seconds before speaking. He said, "I don't want my words to come from heat. I want them to come from light." And because of that, when he spoke, everyone listened. Amid the noise of arguments, his calm, steady voice was like cool water, soothing the room. True strength lies not in how fast we act, but in our ability to stop in time. Storms don't come from outside. They rise from within. When the heart churns, we lose sight of the path. When the heart settles, the path reveals itself. Someone once asked, "How can we stay calm in an age of hurry?" The answer was simpler than expected. Walk one step slower than life. Slowing down doesn't make you lose. It simply ensures you don't lose yourself. And perhaps that is the most important thing. In the end, everyone reaches their destination. Some arrive weary and frantic, others slow but serene. The question is, which will you choose? The ancients said, "When the heart is peaceful, the world is peaceful." It sounds like a lofty philosophy, but it's the simplest truth of life. Because the world isn't only what's outside, houses, streets, people, but also the world inside our hearts. When the heart is tangled, even blue skies look gray. When the heart is at ease, even amid storms, the sky remains clear. There are mornings when the sun rises as usual, yet one small annoyance can stir the mind. A spilled coffee, a careless remark, a broken plan, and suddenly the whole day feels bad. But if we pause, take a deep breath, and smile, everything becomes normal again. The world hasn't changed. Only our heart has that. I once met a leader who made everyone around him feel at ease. He didn't speak much or issue loud commands, yet his presence brought peace. When his company faced a major crisis, panic spread, some wanted to quit, he sat quietly by the window, gazing at the garden. Then he turned and said slowly, "We can't control the wind, but we can adjust the sails." That one sentence, not a slogan, not a shout, was enough to calm the room. From his stillness came trust. From his trust, clarity arose. The company not only survived, but grew stronger. When the one at the top keeps a peaceful heart, that energy spreads, and the whole group finds stability. That it's the same in family life. A calm mother can keep the home warm. A steady father can teach a child strength. A patient partner can dissolve countless misunderstandings. The power of a peaceful heart is a quiet one. It needs no preaching, no force. When even one person remains calm, the flames of conflict begin to cool. There's a story of two neighbors in a small village who constantly quarreled. One day, an old monk heard them shouting and came to knock on their doors. He said nothing, simply invited them to sit silently for 5 minutes. At first, they were restless, but out of respect, they obeyed. 5 minutes passed. No shouting, no words. Only the sound of the wind brushing the roof tiles. When they stood up, neither wanted to argue anymore. They had realized, once the mind is still, right and wrong no longer matter. This world will never be quiet. The news changes every day. Social media overflows with praise and blame. If we let our hearts be carried away, we will never know peace. But if we can hold stillness within, then no matter how loud the world becomes, our hearts remain like a calm lake. That stillness not only brings happiness to ourselves, but peace to those around us. Modern science has even proven that emotional energy truly spreads. A calm person can lower the stress of others. An angry person can make an entire room heavy. A peaceful mind creates peaceful waves. A restless mind stirs chaos. This isn't just a metaphor, it's real. Each of us is a transmitter of energy. So when we are calm, we help the world calm with us. Once, during a meditation class, the teacher asked, if someone brings a lamp into a room, the room brightens. If someone brings a flame, the room burns. So, what will you bring wherever you go? The class fell silent. Then the teacher smiled. Bring your peace with you. Even one breath, one gentle smile, can soothe a troubled heart. To be calm does not mean to be cold. Quite the opposite, it is to love with wisdom. Calm people know that shouting never makes others understand. Only listening in stillness opens hearts. They don't need to argue to prove, nor compete to feel worthy. They let their presence speak that a person with a peaceful heart naturally makes others want to stay close. Not because they are powerful, but because near them, we too feel peaceful. They are like a cup of warm tea on a rainy day. Silent, simple, yet enough to warm the soul. If each of us knows how to keep our own peace, life will, by itself, become easier to breathe. We cannot make others stop being angry, but we can stop reacting. We cannot make the rain cease, but we can hold an umbrella. We cannot halt the wind, but we can keep the lamp in our heart from wavering. When each person learns this, the storm outside also becomes gentler. After all, calm is not only a personal strength, it is a gift to the whole world. When we are calm, we do not harm anyone. When we are calm, we see others more clearly. When we are calm, we sow seeds of serenity. And if enough people sow those seeds, this earth will become a garden of peace. There are times when life is like a sea of waves. People flail, shout, and scramble for space on cramped boats of fame and one-upmanship. Amid that clamor, it is rare to find someone who chooses to sit down, simply to listen to the sound of waves, to realize that the sea itself is not noisy. Only our hearts are not yet still. Stillness is never outside. It lies within us, where no wind can reach, where everything begins and ends. In the mind, silence, kindness, calm, three virtues that seem separate, but in truth converge on one point: equanimity. When we are silent, we halt useless noise. When we are kind, we dissolve hatred. When we are calm, we're not swept away by life. And when the three meet, we touch a happiness that nothing can shake, the happiness of one who has understood oneself. People often think living means struggling, surpassing, speaking up, being recognized. Yet after exhausting contests, we realize what we need is not victory, but ease. Any glory without inner peace is merely a thin coat of paint over deep insecurity. True happiness, by contrast, arrives in the simplest moments. When we sit quietly watching the sunset, when we smile at one who once hurt us, when we keep silent before criticism and the heart does not ripple. That is the happiness of wisdom, of freedom, of compassion. Point one who knows silence understands that not everything needs words. Some pains only need to be heard, not explained. Some debates are not decided by right or wrong, but by who still keeps a good heart. Silence is not avoidance. It is choosing the moment when words have value. When the mind is still, words become light yet deep. When the heart is agitated, words are heavy yet hollow. Thus the wise speak little, but each word resonates. The kind person is not weak. They are one who can love even when wounded. They do not repay hatred with hatred, for they know hatred only lengthens suffering. They choose forgiveness, not because the other deserves it, but because they refuse to imprison themselves in resentment. Kindness makes them light, and that very lightness is strength. Like water, soft, yet it wears down stone. Like a faint light, gentle, yet it pierces the dark. The kind pass through life leaving no cuts, only fragrance. And when they depart, others remember them with two words: peaceful presence. And the calm person, this is one who stands firm amid storms. When others panic, they are the center of stillness. When others argue, they are silent. When others fear, they smile. Calm does not mean emotionless. It means not letting emotion take the helm. They may hurt, but do not collapse. May grieve, but do not despair. May lose, but do not lose themselves. For they know every storm has an end. As long as the oar stays in hand, in a human life, what is most precious is not how much wealth we hold, but how many moments of composure we keep amid tempests. When we are calm, wisdom appears. When we are calm, compassion arises. When we are calm, we no longer need others to be like us, nor the world to bend our way. We watch life as we watch clouds. They come and go, yet the sky remains whole. Some spend their lives seeking peace by changing externals, jobs, houses, partners, directions. However far they go, they do not find peace because they have not returned within. Peace is not where there are no waves, but where we know how to row among waves. It is not in dodging pain, but in looking pain in the eye without letting it swallow us. And the only road to peace is the road back to a gentle heart, a still heart, a quiet heart. This world will never be truly quiet. News, social media, work, and money will always tug at us. Yet we can still be at peace if we know how to pause. Pause before speaking a hurtful word. Pause before reacting. Pause before judging. With just one pause, we are different. In that pause, we see others more clearly, ourselves more clearly, and the problem grows small. Calm is the bridge between ignorance and awakening, between the ego and love. Some ask, if we're silent, how can we change the world? In truth, the world changes only when people learn to listen. Every tragedy begins when no one listens, when no one stops a moment to understand. If each person could be silent for a few seconds before speaking, a bit kinder in action, and a beat calmer before judging, this world would change greatly. We do not need more shouting. We need more peaceful breaths, the silent sow wisdom, the kind sow blessings, the calm sow freedom. When these three seeds sprout together, a person becomes fertile ground where love can grow. When we live with a gentle heart, speak from a still mind, and view life with tranquil eyes, each step we take becomes a prayer for the world. Imagine this. One morning, instead of rushing, we sit quietly by the window, watch sunlight sift through leaves, and breathe deeply. Everything softens. At that moment, it is not the world that has changed. We have. And the change in one person already spreads. One calm person can soothe a household. One serene household can warm a neighborhood. One peaceful community can ease a society. Stillness, kindness, calm. These are not lofty philosophies, but the most practical life skills. We need not learn them far away. We can begin with the smallest things. When misunderstood, smile instead of reacting. When others flare up, listen instead of striking back. When the heart is tangled, breathe deeply, then speak less. When wounded, forgive, not to forget, but to free yourself. The more we practice, the more we see we are not losing strength. We are recovering it. The gentle, steady strength no one can take away. and one day we will understand. There is no miracle greater than a peaceful heart. Whoever carries a peaceful heart is a light wherever they go. They bring no fear, only calm. They do not try to spread positivity, because their quiet presence already is that energy. Beside them, people feel neither judged nor coerced, but simply allowed to be themselves. In the end, peace is not about how much we have, but how much we can let go. Less impatience, less anger, less anxiety. When we lessen, we are light. When we are light, we can lift. When we lift, we are free. And that is the root of happiness, to be oneself in serenity to the human life. After all, is not to outdo others, but to realize this. When we are kind, we have not lost. When we are silent, we are not weak. When we are calm, we lose nothing. On the contrary, we find ourselves again. The world may be noisy, but within us there can still be a garden. There, flowers bloom not to be admired, and streams run not to be heard. They exist simply because that is the nature of life. So it is with us. Once we understand, we no longer need to try to be at peace because we're peace itself. Live more slowly, a bit kinder, a bit quieter, a bit calmer. Do not fear being different. The lotus blooms in mud, yet never needs to prove its fragrance. For in the end, after all upheavals, wins and losses, gains and forfeits, only one thing remains. Whether our heart is at peace, if the heart is peaceful, life is peaceful. If the heart is at rest, life is at rest. And when our heart is at rest, nothing outside can make us suffer anymore.